Now that we've covered a quick language syntax demo for C#, let's take a look at operators. In this segment, we'll look at mathematical operators and operators used in assignment. In the first line, you see I have unary postfix operators. This implies that these symbols, plus plus and minus minus, will be added to the end of a variable, right after the variable, to either increase the value by 1 with the plus plus, or decrease the value by 1 with minus minus. Unary prefix operators implies that these symbols, plus plus and minus minus, can also be added just before a variable. The difference is that once you add a value to a certain operator, using postfix operators will make these operators kick in right after the statement is complete, and prefix operators will kick in right before the statement is complete. And what does that mean? We'll see an example in a few minutes to illustrate this. In the meantime, let's go down the list. We also have plus and minus. This can be added just before a variable. Putting a plus sign in front of a variable doesn't change the plus or minus sign of the variable itself, but putting a minus in front of it changes a positive number to negative and a negative number to a positive. Next, we have operators for multiplying and dividing. Using a star or asterisk is equivalent to multiplication, and using a forward slash is equivalent to division, since we do not have separate keys for multiplication and division symbols. Next, we have the modulus operator, which is indicated by this percent symbol. This can be used for two numbers to find out the remainder when one number is divided by the other. So let's say I say 7 modulus 5. This will give me the number 2, which is the remainder you get when 7 is divided by 5. Next, we have additive operators. Plus and minus can be used to add or subtract two values. You can say 5 plus 2 to get 7, or you can say 7 minus 2 to get 5. And finally, we have assignment operators. This is as simple as assigning a value to a variable. So if we say my age equals 25, you're now assigning the value of 25 to the variable my age. On the left here, we have two arrows that say higher or lower. This indicates the precedence of each of these variables, or operators rather, when you have many operators in a single statement. So let's say if you have plus plus and the multiplication symbol and the assignment operator, adding all of these to the same statement will always guarantee that any operators higher in the list will be acted upon first before anything below it. Next, let's take a look at logical operators. The equality symbol is equals equals. You can use this to figure out whether a variable is equal to another variable or value. You also have the not equal symbol, which is indicated by an exclamation mark and an equal symbol. This checks to see whether two values are not equal to each other. The next two lines, we have logical and XOR operators. So logical and logical XOR operators. These are indicated by a single ampersand and the caret symbol and are used for bitwise operations. That's a little more advanced for beginners. So if you're a beginner, you don't have to worry about them. It's for operating on individual bits within an integer or other value. Next, we have conditional and conditional or operators. These are the double ampersand or double pipe symbols. These can be used to either check for multiple conditions at the same time or multiple conditions that may or may not be valid at the same time. So if you want to check if both conditions are valid, when you have two different conditions, you can use ampersand ampersand. And if you want to check whether one or another condition is valid, you can use the double pipe symbol. Finally, we have the conditional ternary operator. This is indicated by a question mark and a colon. It's called ternary because it can be used on three variables, or rather three different things. You're checking to see whether something is true or not. If it is, you're returning one value. and if it's not true, you'll return another value. We'll see a better example of this to illustrate what this really means. Just by looking at this operator here does not make it clear how it's being used. So let's take a look at some demos.